Hi YouTube, welcome back to Wtf Rc Cars. So, we're going to make a chassis protector today out of this, I think it's motorbike protection film for the GT2 Kyosho. So, we want to get rid of the body shell. And then you want to flip it over. And the first thing we're going to do is get rid of these screws. So I'm just going to drop these screws out. There's only 6 of them. And like always with these, be careful when you're putting them back in, because they're only in plastic, just for these side protectors. And I'll drop a link in the video description. Now we don't need to remove the side protectors, just the screws. So you can leave them in place, and then you want to wipe any grease or anything that you can find off the bottom of this. It's worth just making sure that all the screws are tightened up if it's a brand new kit like this, just because you don't want any of these to be loose after you've put the protector on it. Right, so next thing you want to do, we've got the screws removed. You want to wipe all the chassis down, make sure there's no grease or anything on here, because we want to give it best possible chance that we can for it to all stick. Then you're going to want to get some of your chassis protector, get it laid out. Once it's laid out, put a little mark on it. Then you can cut it straight across. Put that to one side and we can make plenty more out of it. Right, let's see if we can get you a better shot so you can see how this goes on. Right, so what you've got on one side of this stuff, you've got a tiny little sheet that comes off, so we'll get rid of that, and then I try and find a nice flat edge and sort of split the difference between both sides. So you should be able to get somewhere where it's pretty even. And then if it's a chassis like this one that's slightly raised, you can cut the raised part, and then that'll allow you to get the chassis cover to go down a lot closer. And then it's just a case of chasing out the air bubbles. And at there, you don't need to get rid of everything. And we've got another raised part on the front of the chassis, around the diff. So you can just make a couple of cuts into that. And it does stick pretty good, this stuff. It is quite impressive. And you can just work the sides down. Sure we've got this front bit cut. because it's going to be this leading edge where, if anywhere, it starts to peel up as you run it. So you can get it pretty much perfect, and then all you need to do is work your way around the sides of it. Nice and carefully. And it's not absolute drastically important that these are absolutely perfectly in line with the chassis. And a really sharp knife will make your job an awful lot easier. And you can just work your way around. And then same up front. And then if you need to, you can work your way back along it and just tidy it up. And it does have another layer on the outside, which I tend to leave on because it makes it a little bit tougher. And I've used this stuff on a good few of my RCs now, and it seems to hold up really well. It is an incredibly tough wearing plastic. And it just saves scratching all the bottom of your RC up, especially if you're going to be using it on tarmac. Now, what I would do, I would advise cutting these out. And that's simply because if you get any stones get up in here, you want them to be able to get out, especially around the gears or the diff gear. But because this chassis is used for both electric and nitro, you don't need to cut the motor ones out. And if you do need to get any of these screws out, you can just cut round them. But I'm never too bothered about the little air bubbles. Some of them work their way out eventually. You can just pop it with the end of the knife if you want to get every one out. And then what I find useful is if you poke the holes back in for the screws. So we'll just cut these out a little. And then we just want to pop the screws back in with the world's most magnetic screwdriver for some reason. Usually at magnetic tips everything falls off. This one decides it wants to pick all the screws up in one go. And as I say, remember these are going into plastic, so you don't need to go absolutely crazy with them. So that's the protective film, and get rid of that. I know there's another screw around there somewhere. Where's the last one? Them screws should be fine because the chassis curves, but basically there you've got nice protected chassis. It should keep at least some of the scrapes and scratches off, at least for a while. But there you go, one chassis protector. Now this stuff is fairly cheap depending on how much of it you want to buy, and it's also very easy to work with. As long as you've got a sharp Stanley knife, you can cut round it really easy. But there you go, one nicely fitted chassis protector. Should keep it looking nice for a little bit longer. So if you find this kind of video helpful or useful, don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to share to friends and family, and I'll catch you guys again in the next one.